Welcome back to another episode of Bishop's Breakdown, episode 13. It's MLK Day, so we're going to talk black coaches in the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball to show the discrepancies and that these sports need to do better. And we're also going to break down the Divisional Round of the NFL because now it's down to 4 teams, and one of these teams will face each other for the Super Bowl in February. Because honoring this day isn't just about highlights. It's about accountability. So let's break it down and let's get into it. So let's start this off with the Raw and SmackDown recaps from the 12th and the 16th of January. Well, Raw. So let's start with the key points in this Monday Night Raw. Gunther took on AJ Styles in a great match with two great wrestlers. Gunther got the win, made him tap out, but that's what he does. He makes vets tap out because Gunther is really good. Then you had Braun Breaker throwing a temper tantrum and attacking Dragon Lee and Penta to show that he's super frustrated from, losing last week to CM Punk. So Adam Pearce tried to calm him down, but that was a mistake. So he got pushed and he suspended him indefinitely, whatever that means. Probably a week, a day, I don't know. He'll show up sooner or later, maybe tonight, but it's whatever. I mean, unless it goes to a match between the two, it's honestly pointless. Authority figure trying to calm down the heel and gets, smacked around or pushed around or whatever. So I'm seeing Pierce eating the spear sooner rather than later. And then we got new number one contenders in Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan. But whatever. I've seen them take on Rhea millions of times, so who cares? That tag division is just mediocre or a waste of time, or it just sucks. And Raw sucks. Like, I thought the move to Netflix was going to make the show tolerable. Granted, it's a lot shorter than it has been in the past. Like, under 2 hours is the medium that they're doing, but it still sucks. Like, they have no direction. It just sucks. They need somebody. I don't know. Y2J? Somebody? Anybody? And moving on to SmackDown. So, Drew comes out and says that part of that mysterious contract he signed, Cody can't get a rematch. So, he's moving on to the next, which is a tournament, which I'm very super excited about based on who's in it. But hopefully some surprise will come out and challenge Drew at Royal Rumble for the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Undisputed Championship. Sorry, CM Punk. My bad. So the 4 men that are going to face each other at Saturday Night Main Event on Saturday, you got Randy Orton, Trick Williams, Damian Priest, and you got Sami Zayn. So all the experts or media or internet people think it's Sami Zayn is going to win the Fatal 4-Way, challenge Drew, and beat him for the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't even think he's going to make it that far. I think Sami Zayn's going to go the route of the Royal Rumble, which we'll get to later. But I think the better matchup, clearly out of the people that are left, if not Damian Priest, sorry Trick Williams, you ain't going to be whooping that trick. But I think it's going to be Orton versus Drew McIntyre at Royal Rumble for the WWE Undisputed Championship. And Drew's going to retain because it's too early to take him off of him unless they want Randy Orton going into WrestleMania and facing Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. But there's a lot of things that would need to happen because clearly they're not going the route of Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Things could change again, but experts are saying that match is off the table. So what's left for Roman Reigns? What is he going to do at Mania or Royal Rumble at that? And then Carmelo Hayes is, continuing the open challenge for the U.S. title, and he faced Slater, the TNA X Division champion, and that was a banger. You need to go out of your way to watch that match because SmackDown had some good matches, like really good matches. And then Cody Rhodes comes out and declares himself. He wants to do something that very few people have done and won the Royal Rumble 3 times. So he said, that's what I'm going to do. But he got a match with Jacob Fatu at Saturday Night's main event, which could be a good match, could be a squash match, but I think it's going to be competitive. And I want Jacob to win this match because Cody doesn't really need the wins, but Jacob does. He's been gone for a minute, and this will be his first feud back after, basically costing him the title. So Cody wants his revenge, but Jacob Fatu needs to be back, built back up, show his dominance like before him and Solo got into it. Because Jacob Fatu is definitely the future, and Cody's already won enough. So there's no reason for Cody to win this match. So that's my pick for that. But SmackDown seems to be a better show, wrestling-wise. If you like wrestling, SmackDown. If you like, sports entertainment, then Raw on Netflix is your spot. And it's crazy. This should honestly be the other way around based on who's on Raw. But, without CM Punk, I don't know. It's just stupid. Raw is just dumb. But I'm still going to watch them. Still going to cover it for y'all. Let you know my thoughts. But at the end of the show, I'm going to preview Monday Night Raw, which airs live from Belfast, Ireland. But we'll get to that later. Let's talk NFL. Actually, you know what? Let's talk TNA. I don't normally talk TNA, but they moved to AMC on Thursday, which I have Hulu Live TV, and I had trouble getting this show to watch because it's not available through that outlet. So I had to go and pay for AMC Plus just to watch the show. And let me tell you, if I never watched TNA before and only seen the NXT stuff, this was a poor display of what TNA is great about. Like, I don't know what their plans were, but this is not the show they should have put on first. Because if I didn't like wrestling or just a casual fan, I would have started watching this and turned it off and said, screw TNA and never watch it again. Because it sucked. It looked like an indie show or something and not a big-time production like you're used to, even on AEW or obviously WWE. So I don't know what their plans were. I mean, I'm going to keep watching, because I like the talent they have over there. The Mike Santana, the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion after beating Frankie Kazarian. And it looks like he's going to be challenged by Nick Namath, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, because he has technically Money in the Bank. He has a title match promised to him whenever, whatever. But besides that, it was a missable show, and it shouldn't have been, because they had all the momentum and they pooped the bed. Like, I don't know. They need to rethink their format of the show to make it more, gripping, more exciting. Because this ain't it. Like, I have to pay extra to watch this show, and why would I do that? Like, they're not showing me anything that I need to go out of my way to watch any matches, and I thought I was missing out because it was on a streaming site, TNA Plus, and that was basically it. So if I didn't have those things, I wouldn't be able to watch it. I got to see highlights or shorts on YouTube or whatnot, X. They posted, and it looked good. You know, I love TNA back in the day with Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels and obviously AJ Styles and Kurt Angle. And I mean, it went downhill when Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff came over, and all of a sudden it looked like WCW 2.0 with all the million-year-old wrestlers being in this the main event scene, like the Scott Steiners and the Kevin Nashes and the main event Mafia, and then the Aces of the Eights led by Bully Ray. I remember all that, but so I was ready for them to do something and wow me again, and I would have been more than happy to pay a monthly fee for AMC Plus because I like AMC Plus. They got Walking Dead and other shows on there that tickle my fancy, so I was like, hey, yeah, let's do it. But I don't know. That TNA, they come on, bro. Bring something better to the table, because I think you could definitely be number 2 in the world of the top wrestling promotions in the world and push AEW out of the way and put them down to number 3. So it'd be WWE, TNA, and AEW. But now with that type of show, you're going down to 4. And New Japan is better than that. So hopefully Thursday you'll take this criticism and show me that TNA is back, baby. So let's talk divisional round of the NFL. You got the Bills taking on the Broncos. And like I said weeks ago, this is Josh Allen's time to shine. You don't have no Patrick Mahomes, which he hasn't beat in the playoffs. You got Lamar Jackson gone. He ain't beat them in the playoffs. You got the Joe Burrows of the Bengals that Josh Allen hasn't beat. So he's 0-3 against those top-tier teams, and they're out in the playoffs. And what does he do? Poop the bed. And the Bills have been eliminated, and the Broncos are one game away from the Super Bowl, which should have been Josh Allen's, spot. But, oh well. And then you got the Patriots taking on the Texans. And C.J. Stroud, oh my goodness. 4 interceptions. And do you expect that type of outing going to get you to the Super Bowl or get you to the AFC Championship game against a pretty decent Patriots team? Well, you were mistaken. And I know you were out a lot of players, Nico Collins on the sideline, so you didn't have your number 1 receiver. But passing to the other team is not a good play. Last I checked, when you pass the other team, you lose those games. And that's what happened. He lost the game. And now it's Broncos, Patriots, AFC Championship game. Patriots back in the winning ways. Dynasty 2.0? Maybe. Because Drake May is keep winning, but I think the Broncos are a decent team, but they lost their quarterback, so I don't see any reason why the Patriots is not going to the Super Bowl. So let's move to the NFC. So let's talk the blowout game first. Seahawks, 49ers. Wow. The Seattle Seahawks look like the most dominant team in all of the playoffs right now. I mean, they put a boot to butt type of performance, and it looks like the Seahawks are, obviously they're only one game away from the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to go, if they keep playing like they're playing, there's no reason why the Seahawks is not going to win Super Bowl this year. Mark my words. Then you had a snow-filled game, the Bears taking on the Rams, which on paper you would think the Bears will have the advantage because they were at home and their defense is pretty damn good. But Caleb Williams tried everything he could. He did another fourth quarter comeback and brought him back. And the Rams, they took it to overtime, and the Rams did what they had to do. They stopped them on defense and got the ball and a couple first downs and field goal, game over. So I think the Bears have something good going on over there. So they shouldn't hold their head down low. But they need to do something better because coming back in the fourth quarter is not going to be the play going forward, because you live by the sword, die by the sword type thing. I mean, look at the Lions. When they kept going for fourth downs and when they were making them, the team had success. But when they weren't making them, clearly they're sitting at home and didn't even make the playoffs. So they went from Super Bowl favorites to not even making the playoffs. So the Bears need to, figure something out, because they need to stop people and not having to depend on a comeback every single big game that they're in, because clearly it's not going to be sustainable when it really matters, which is the divisional playoffs. One game away, making the NFC Championship game is in their grasp clearly. But like I said, when you're down the whole entire game and you got to come back every single big game, sooner or later the time's gonna run out, and that time clearly was now. So that's the divisional round. So the 4 teams are the Broncos, the Patriots, the Seahawks, and the Rams. One of those 4 teams will be in the Super Bowl and be the Super Bowl champion, the NFL champion. So I'm going to tell you my predictions later in the show, and bookmark it, so when it's right, you can be like, hey, Bishop told me. So looking forward to that. So this is a perfect time. Let's talk the carousel, which is the coaches' firings in the NFL this season. And there's a lot of them. So let's start with Kevin Stefanski of the Browns, which he already got a new job. He just got hired by the Atlanta Falcons. Then you got Pete Carroll of the Las Vegas Raiders, who had a terrible first season. Then Jonathan Gannon of the Arizona Cardinals. Brian Daboll of the New York Giants. Brian Callahan of the Tennessee Titans. Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins. John Harbaugh of the Baltimore Ravens, and Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And breaking news, the Buffalo Bills has fired head coach Sean McDermott, per source. Adam Schefter of the ESPN fame reported, so that's good enough for me. So, I mean, he's had winning seasons. He's won divisions, but 0 Super Bowl appearances. So with that team, especially this year, they should have went all the way, and he took the blame, and so he out. And he also got the firing of Atlanta Falcons head coach Raheem Morris. So, but the New York Giants also hired John Harbaugh. So you got 2 of them with their new head coaches, and you still got a lot of spots to fill. So this is going to be an interesting couple months until training camp begins, or probably when the NFL draft. That's when they'll have all their ducks in a row, and we'll have more coaches, getting new jobs. And I have a feeling Mike Tomlin's not done, even though he resigned or stepped down, and he's not technically fired. But I don't care what anyone says, but I think the Rooneys or whoever owns the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, went to him and said, "We either gonna fire you or you're gonna quit, because we ain't gonna retain your services." So they gave him the option, and he stepped down. But I think he has a lot of football in him still, and I could see him going to a warmer team like a Miami Dolphins or something like that, Arizona, one of them places, because I feel he got a bad rap, and the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't help him. He gave them winning seasons, but they couldn't do scush in the playoffs. And I don't put that all on Mike Tomlin. I put it on the fact that they didn't have George Pickens. That might have helped a lot instead of DK. No offense, DK, he's a good football player, but George Pickens, in my opinion, is way better. So I don't think that's Tomlin's fault. And he also had a 1,000-year-old quarterback in the name of Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, that was a recipe for disaster, and he still put up a winning record. So let's talk elephant in the room. In honor of MLK Day, let's talk black head coaches in NFL and other sports. The current black head coaches are Aaron Glenn of the New York Jets, Todd Bowles of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and DeMeco Ryans of the Houston Texans. The start of the season, you had 5 black head coaches, 6 if you want to count Mike McDaniels, who is biracial. And here's more stats, because stats don't lie. 70% of the NFL players are black, but only 9% of the NFL coaches are black. You look at the NBA, and it's a little bit better, but 74% of the players are black, and 37% of coaches are black. And then you go to Major League Baseball, which only has 7% of players that are black. And then you got 10% of the team's managers are black. But that seems like a closer number, athletes to coaches or managers than it does in the ones that are predominantly African American. To me, that number should not be that far apart, especially in the NFL. Not saying that people should just get a job because the color of their skin, because that's not fair to coaches who deserve those jobs and don't get it because they're not African American, and they just want to make those hires just to shut up the critics or shut up the media or shut up the NAACP type people, Black Lives Matter people. But if they deserve the job, they should get the job. But I feel that coaches of African American descent should get some more chances. Like, they're quick to fire those people. Like, I've seen other races of coaches get chances after chances after chances, and they just suck. And they should have been fired, 4 seasons ago. But, I feel that the black coaches, there should be more. There should be more opportunities to show these guys that they are talented too. Because they're not the same, I feel black coaches should get the opportunities or get the training or get the chances of being coordinators or special teams coaches or whatever, and get their feet wet and be able to have those chances and be able to shine, because that number's 70% are black and only 9% of coaches are. And who knows, it might be even less. We might only have 2 by the start of next season, because who knows if the Houston Texans want to keep their head coach after what happened last night. So I feel they just need more chances. And I know what I said, they shouldn't just get chances because of the color of their skin, but because of what they have done. But they need to get opportunities to be able to do that, and not just be interviewed, but maybe hired as a coordinator or hired as any mild of. There's a whole bunch of assistant coaches on the NFL team, and why not put them in those positions to get better and learn more from the vets like the Andy Reids and the McVays of the world, and be able to, like the Lions, they had their coordinators, and under the belt of the great Dan Campbell, they got head coaching jobs. And look at the Bears. They were 1 game away from making the NFC Championship game when people thought they were going to suck, because they sucked last year. But now they're, they were a hiccup. They were a field goal away from winning and going to the NFC Championship game, which will be a home game, the NFC Championship home game, possibly. And that's incredible. So I feel black coaches should be able to get these opportunities to show what they got, or at least trained to show that they can be there. If they suck, they suck. But They need more avenues, more opportunities, and not just having to go back to college or heaven forbid go to high school and coach high school ball. But their name and their knowledge is huge enough that they should get the opportunities to be in the big leagues, which is the NFL. I don't care what anybody say. The NFL is where you want to be. Just like WWE is where you want to be as a professional wrestler. Like, you don't want to be in the bottom. You don't want to be in the minors. Your goal is to be not in the indies or not on the lower tier of football or basketball. You want to be in the NBA. You want to be in the NFL. So, NFL, do better. I know you've done a lot better than you have in the past, but 3 out of all your teams are African American, and it don't look like it's going to be more than that. Maybe one more. Maybe you'll have 4. But based on who's going to be hired, based on who's unavailable, that number ain't going to go up. It's going to be less next year than it was the beginning of this year. And that's my 2 cents, and that's elephant in the room. So let's do a quick Raw preview. Coming from Belfast, Ireland, you got Finn Balor challenging CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship, which, for me, I wish Finn Balor would win. I wish Finn Balor come out as a demon, but that ain't going to happen either. Or come out to his old music because he's in his home country. And then Becky Lynch, because she won back the IC title, women's IC title, on some shenanigans, holding the rope like a heel's supposed to do, defended against the former champion Maxine Dupree. And maybe this match will be 1,000% better because that was Botchamania worthy match for sure. And then Javon Evans, the great Javon Evans, the young OG, taking on El Grande Americana, which banger incoming for sure because Javon Evans is a gift that keeps on giving. That's why they call it a present. And then you got a random 6-man tag team match. Rey Mysterio, Penta, Dragon Lee, the Lucha, or Los Luchadors, versus The Vision, which will be Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, and Austin Theory because Braun Breaker is, suspended or whatever. But he might show his face. He might spear Adam Pearce. I'm hoping for it because I need some excitement on Raw because that's coming on live from Belfast, and it will be around 3 o'clock Eastern on Netflix. So I'm going to watch it. Let's go. So let's start off with the MVP watch list. I'm only going to do the top 2 going forward. This is my list. If you don't like it, make your own and tell me why I'm wrong in the comments or email me at bishopbreakdown@gmail.com. So let's start with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because he's still averaging 31.8 points a game. And then you got Luka Doncic of the Los Angeles Lakers averaging 33.3 points per game and 8.6 dimes. So he's doing his thing like always. And Luka is a monster, a beast. But I'll be remiss if I don't mention Anthony Edwards and his 55 points the other day. All right, young fella, keep throwing up them hoops because 55 is an accomplishment. I mean, not as was back in the day because, people be scoring 60s and 70s like they're nothing. But I see you, big bro. Keep doing your thing. And Anthony Edwards is a gift, just like Javon Evans. That's why they call it the present. So let's talk NBA power ranking. You got OKC, 35-8 still. Still haven't lost 10 games this year. Still incredible. Got the Pistons, still top of the Eastern Conference with a 30-10 record. And then 2 more West Coast teams to round out the power ranking. You got the San Antonio Spurs with their unicorn Victor Wembanyama with 29-13 record. And without Jokic, Denver Nuggets is still performing, still maintaining their record of 29-14 because, in 2 or 3 more weeks, hopefully Jokic will be back and make that run. But me personally, I would, if they keep it up, I would hold them out till after the All-Star break. And because you need them for the second half of the season, especially if you want to make a deep run in the playoffs. And I think Denver Nuggets could and will make a deep run in the playoffs, especially with Jokic at 100%. So before I end this Bishop's Breakdown episode 13, let's talk national championship. You got Indiana Hoosiers taking on the Miami Hurricanes for the national championship, which happens to be in the home stadium of the Miami Hurricanes. So on paper, Miami should win because they're the home favorite. They're a home team. But I think it's the Indiana Hoosier is going to, if they play just a little bit like they've been playing in this playoffs, they're going to blow out Miami Hurricanes. And it's not going to be any question. And Indiana will be your new, and I said new, national champion. Mark my words. Indiana Hoosiers are winning the national championship. And the predictions for the NFL championship games of the AFC, you got Broncos, Patriots. My pick's Patriots because the Broncos have a second-string quarterback who's only started 4 games in his career, 0 in the playoffs. And Drake May, and Stephon Diggs, Cardi B's old man, is going to perform and make it to the Super Bowl. And then the NFC Championship game, you got the Seahawks and the Rams. And if Seattle, like I said, if they play just a little bit like they've been playing, they're going to beat the Rams. Sorry, Matt Stafford. You got next year or whatever. And Sam Darnold's going to show that he's not that guy anymore, and he's not going to flub the bed, and he's not going to choke. And it's going to be a rematch of, this one Super Bowl that was Seahawks-Patriots when Seahawks were down there 4th and goal, and they had a beast in the backfield, and they decided to play action and throw a pick. And if they would have ran that, they would have won the Super Bowl, and maybe the dynasty of the Patriots wouldn't have been as dominant as it was. So I'm looking forward to that rematch. Patriots, Seahawks, Super Bowl, February. Mark my words. Bookmark it. And when you be like, hey, Bishop was right. Yeah, I'm usually right. So mark my words. Let's go. Next weekend, we'll find out who's going to make the Super Bowl and if I was right, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right. So that's episode 13. So let's end this with a bang. And here, like a great man once said, Martin Luther King. So like the great Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So remember that, and happy MLK Day. And check me out next week. Like, comment, subscribe. Do that thing. And I'll catch you crazy people later. Deuces. Ooses.